Well, we are back after week one here. It's been a exciting start. Who would have thought that with everything that was going on, there would be so much news? Welcome everyone to an episode of NFL Fantasy Matchup. We had T. Higgins not signing. We had Jamar Chase not signing. Dak Prescott signed the biggest contract in NFL history. We had what's his name? Hill, the guy from Miami. Yeah. Getting arrested right before a game. I mean, so there was a lot of stuff going on in Tyreek Hill going on in week one. Jed, Jim, welcome.
Good. The one thing, Jed, I've been remembering that you keep saying every year, the first couple weeks are anomaly, right? So what happens in the first couple weeks doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen for the rest of the year as well, too.
It's because, a good example, if you were watching Brandon Ayuk drop that pass in the end zone because he hasn't been playing the whole preseason. So it's like the first 2 weeks are almost like practice. But by week 3, now you start to see some consistent trends and things.
Lions, so right? That's one of the things that they said. The Detroit Lions did not play any of their starters during the preseason, right? So Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Jamar Gibbs of the world, even Jameson Williams, they didn't see any of that stuff too. So in some ways, this is now their preseason where they're trying to get acclimated to football.
What's hard is just to pick which ones are trends and which ones were, just 1 week wonder. So a good example is Isaiah Likely with Baltimore. So do you believe he's going to really stick and he's going to become the true number 1 tight end and Mark Andrews is going to be number 2? Or do you think that was a 1 week anomaly and not flips? Yeah. See, that's a hard decision.
No, I agree.
Yeah. But at the same time, if there was one player I think is not an anomaly, Rashee Rice, I think, is here to stay. I think Patrick Mahomes likes Rashee Rice. He looks good. And he probably won't get suspended this year. I think Rashee Rice is here to stay.
He looked really good. Actually, the whole Chiefs offense looked good. I mean, Mahomes had them moving. So, yeah, but I agree. I think Rice, I've got him on at least 1 or 2 teams and very happy to have, particularly over, Xavier Worthy, still like a good flyer, but Rashee Rice is
that's one of the reasons why I picked up Patrick Mahomes in a number of leagues as my quarterback. Because for me, I'm like, look, they got a good team going. And this actually might be the best offense he has, so I think he should be good.
Yeah, it's the first time he has someone to kind of come close to what Tyreek Hill was. But remember that Marquise Brown is coming back, so it will be interesting. It's either going to be this week or next week when Hollywood Brown comes back. See what happens to the pass distribution.
Now, one of the players I love, J.K. Dobbins, I was so happy to see how well he did over with the L.A. Chargers. Hey, look, Justin Herbert did not look good. We all knew that Jim Harbaugh was going to run the ball. And J.K. Dobbins is the recipient of these long runs.
If I was Justin Herbert, I'd be frustrated. He had, 10.5 fantasy points? They took away literally all his receivers. He's got nobody to throw to. Even Ed McConkey was like the best receiver that they got, and he's a rookie this year.
Yeah, I picked him. I have one league where I have Caleb Williams as my starting quarterback, and I was like, man, I got to get a backup. So I picked up Justin Herbert. But, man, it's tough to see. But he's playing Carolina this week, too, so we'll see what happens.
Hey, and Jed, they always say when you play Carolina, all of them do well. So I'm actually looking forward to the Chargers because Carolina looks really bad.
Exactly. Well, that was the big New Orleans just spanked them. New Orleans put on, 53 points? So, that was the biggest point difference. I don't think New Orleans is that good. So, we'll see what happens.
And Alvin Kamara looks like he was a Pro Bowler in that game, which I think
he's my thing. Again, this is the first couple of weeks, right? Kamara might look like a Pro Bowler, but is this going to be like this for the rest of the season? Even like Baker Mayfield.
No, he was a Pro Bowler because he was playing Carolina.
Yes. Exactly.
So, But Baker Mayfield looked great, though. And he.
Oh, yeah.
Every year we keep saying Mike Evans isn't going to do well. Mike Evans still does good. He's 2 touchdowns? Yeah. He was great.
So you guys know I don't like the Browns, but how funny is it that Baker Mayfield, the guy they traded away to get Deshaun Watson, and Mayfield's been way better than Watson.
Did you hear the rumors of what's going on? I don't know if this is true or not. There's 2 rumors going out there. One is that Deshaun Watson created a fake Twitter account so that he can go online and talk about what a good team player he is. And the other report that came out this week was that, there's the police are investigating Deshaun Watson for potentially another harassment, a sexual issue, right? And they're saying that Cleveland may be the one that threw that rumor out there because then it gives them clause to potentially get rid of him at some point.
Oh, That I didn't hear. I know there was like another lawsuit that got filed. There was like a civil
They're
lawsuit.
saying that
And so
Cleveland,
now,
some people are speculating Cleveland was the one who threw it out
Interesting.
there, because then once there's that clause for that, they can boot him out and not have to pay. Because I do think that if you listen to all the Cleveland newspaper and media, they want James Winston as the quarterback there.
Interesting. I know a couple of Browns fans, and one of them in particular was telling me, we were at the Cubs game last week, and one of them was telling me that it's really hard to cheer for your team when you have Watson as your quarterback.
Hey, that fake Twitter account is Leroy Bickerstaff.
Yeah, Leroy Bickerstaff. Yeah.
What a funny name.
Here's what Leroy Bickerstaff says. If Four, what's his jersey number, had a tackle like Trent Williams, he'd be able to show his greatness. Four cannot succeed when he's got no chance back there. And they're sitting there, is this really Deshaun Watson sitting there posting?
That's hilarious.
He's really fallen a lot, right? Like, he used to be one, I would say maybe the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league. And here's the thing, they'll say it's because he has no offense around him. But last year, Joe Flacco won with the same team of people. So I think it's Deshaun Watson.
No, there's something definitely, he lost something, because he was, in fantasy, he was top 5 for 5 years straight. He was top 5. So he was a legit number 1 quarterback. And then I totally expected him after the year off to come back and be, but he is not the same.
Yeah. Hey, what do you guys think of the Bears before we go through some of the games and talk about some of the highlights of players? What do you think of the Bears?
Horrible performance. I mean, obviously the defense, amazing performance, saved our butts yet again. We shouldn't have been surprised. But I don't know if you guys saw in the first half, Caleb Williams missed Keenan Allen on the left-hand side, wide open for a touchdown, and he flat missed it. And I was like, that's the throw you got to be able to make. Like, it's not when you're on the rush and you're running and you're escaping. Those throws are just one, it's a luck kind of thing. But when the guy's wide open, you got time in the pocket, you got to hit him, and he didn't. So I was very disappointed. But it is his first game. They're playing Houston this week. I expect him to put up numbers. I don't know if they'll win, but I think the offense will look a lot better.
Houston's a good team, right? Unless, I mean, I think it's going to be hard for them to win. I mean, if they make it close, they'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, we should talk about.
He's injured, but the defense looks really good.
Oh, the defense was amazing. Yeah. And we should also talk about Indianapolis. That was a really good game. A little bit of a shootout in Indianapolis, and Anthony Richardson. If you guys saw the 2 touchdown passes he threw, the long passes that he threw, very nice. I mean, he looks in top form.
I like Anthony Richardson. I mean, he's not like the best quarterback. He's not, but he's good. Fantasy-wise, if you look at his numbers, always really good, right? Like, for me this year, Josh Allen, who would have thought Josh Allen would be so good? But he's still the number 1 quarterback. I do think you got Lamar Jackson, you got Patrick Holmes, and I think Anthony Richardson is number 4 in that group.
Jim, if you look at it, a lot of times I know you don't like Michael Pittman because you accidentally picked him up when your internet froze. But Alec Pierce, 3 catches, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. Is he someone you're looking, or are you sitting there, forget it, because when Josh Downs comes back, it'll be a Josh Downs?
Let me tell you, Jed, here's the problem with living in a small town. Internet is so slow. You know how many players I've lost during the draft season because my internet froze, I couldn't pick them up in time. Jaden Daniels, Michael Pittman, I've been so frustrated by the internet Wi-Fi here.
Well, I will say, though, if you are holding on to Michael Pittman, I would not drop him or trade him. I think last week was an anomaly. Again, it was three catches for 120 yards. Those are like just long bombs, essentially. Pittman is the guy that you want to own. I think if you look at the target share, he still was number 1 in target share. So that's still the guy I think you want long term.
So here's the other thing, too. For all those people who keep sending me crappy offers for Marvin Harrison, I think Marvin Harrison, I'm not trading Marvin Harrison, you know? And don't give me these crappy offers for him, thinking that.
Hey, Jim, before we go to Marvin Harrison, let's actually finish up with the Colts as well, too. Jed, I wanted to talk to you about Jonathan Taylor and getting your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor before we go to the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, he still got his touchdown, but he only had, it was like 40-some yards, I want to say, right? What was his output?
48 yards.
Yeah, 48 yards. So a little bit concerning, but again, just week one. I mean, I'm expecting one of the things John Taylor worked on over the summer was his pass catching ability. He recognized that he really needed to do better in that area. So I'm expecting to have better output this year as long as everyone stays healthy. So, I mean, no concerns. You still got a touchdown out of him. You can't be complaining for week one.
Yeah, Jim, Nico Collins, 6 catches, 117 yards. Tank Dowd, 3 catches, 40 yards. Stephon Diggs, 6 catches, 33 yards, but 2 touchdowns. Would you say you're starting all 3 of these Houston receivers?
Well, I think Al obviously is the number 3 receiver out of that bunch, right? And I think both Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins did what they needed to do. Nico Collins is going to be their leading receiver for the group. I think he's far and head better than Stephon Diggs. I think as long as Diggs gets his touchdowns, he's happy, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep him happy. The person that I was surprised by from that team, though, Joe Mixon. Who would have thought that guy would have gotten 30 carries? But I think he was the reason why they did so well in that game.
Yeah.
I actually think that it was Joe Mixon benefited from all 3 receivers because all of those guys, no one covered the box. And so he had room to run, unlike Cincinnati, where he used to load it up and Joe Mixon would just run, and 5 yards later, he would be stopped.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a surprise. A lot of people were picking Tank Dell to be a surprise number 1 over Nico Collins, but Nico is clearly the number 1. So I think your guys are right. Although I disagree. I do think that Nico Collins is, that Tank Dell is going to be number 2 over
You think
Stephon Diggs. Yeah, I think that 2 touchdowns, a little bit of an anomaly. I mean, let's just see. It's very hard to be a touchdown-dependent wide receiver. That's very unusual. So let's just see.
The only reason I'm saying Stephon Diggs is because if you look at Stephon Diggs historically, his first half is always better than his second half, right?
Yeah.
Because he's in the game. So what I'm anticipating is Nico Collins is going to be your consistent fantasy scorer for the rest of the season. Stephon Diggs will be the first part of the season, and I think Tank Dell will come around towards the end.
Hey, going to Pittsburgh and Atlanta, Jim, I'll start with you. I mean, look, Arthur Smith offense, they're not going to throw a lot. They're going to run a lot. But even with that, 20 carries for Najee Harris. But it was Jaylen Warren, 2 catches for 7 yards. Is he even sitting on your bench, or are you dropping him for someone else?
Jaylen Warren? I don't know. I mean, how about this? I think as long as you have Justin Fields there, I think they're going to need a Najee Harris type of player to be the running back, right? So that's one of the reasons why I do think that if you had to choose between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, while Justin Fields is the quarterback, I'm going to choose Najee Harris.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, on the Atlanta side, Kirk Cousins did not have a good game. 155 yards, 2 interceptions. No one had a good game. Kyle Pitts, 3 catches. He did get a touchdown. Drake London, I love Drake London, 2 catches, 15 yards.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts definitely squeaked out some benefit by getting that touchdown. But yeah, disappointed in the Falcons. Let's see. I'm a little bit concerned about Kirk Cousins. Was that just 1 week kind of working off the rust? We're going to see, though. They're playing the Eagles, so that is a tough matchup. They are 6.5-point underdogs. So we'll see, though. This could become a trend, and if it is, that's it for Kirk Cousins. And then all those Falcons. I mean, if he had Bijan Robinson, it's going to hurt him, too. So you just got to see what happens.
Yeah.
I want to look at Minnesota. Go ahead, Jeff.
Here's my only thing, right? If you listen to other sports reports that are coming out, they're watching the tape. They're saying that Kirk Cousins actually was really not moving pretty well during the game, right? And most of what Kirk Cousins does is he moves out of the pocket, he finds his receivers, or he dumps it off to one of his running backs. If you look at him right now, he's just staying in the pocket, and so that's the only thing that they have is he doesn't create the room for him to his receivers, and that's why no one was going to get open. The thought then becomes, is he healthy enough to play, or is this just them trying to get adjusted to each other as well too?
Yeah. Let's go over to Minnesota against the New York Giants. Jed, Sam Darnold really looks good with 2 touchdowns, 208 yards. Aaron Jones, 14 rushes, 94 yards. But Jefferson got 1 touchdown. Jordan Addison, 3 catches, 35 yards. Thoughts on this game?
And he got hurt. Addison hurt the other ankle, so both ankles now have been hurt. So I actually on my short bench, Addison was one of the guys that I was potentially dropping because, again, the Vikings were playing the Giants. The Giants are not good. I think they made them look better than they are. But we'll see. You know, Darnold did look a little bit more comfortable. You still got some production. So potentially, but let's see, you know, how they turn out in week 2. I was just going to take a quick peek to see. They're playing the 49ers, but it's in Minnesota, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah. But Aaron Jones looked pretty good.
Yeah, good for him, right? Getting a second chance.
Well, Jordan Addison for sure. Yeah. I don't. I mean, you're right. If he hurt both of his ankles, I mean, he was already kind of tenuous. Do you really want to keep him on your roster? I think there's other people that you want to get. The only thing about Sam Darnold, he completed the first 14 straight passes. He's not throwing far, right? Like, so if you're hoping that this guy is gonna get some major points for your fantasy guy, especially for Jefferson, hopefully he'll do it. But I don't have much hope in that.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, New York Giants, Daniel Jones. We were all expecting to see Malik Neighbors, 5 catches, 66 yards. Devin Singletary, 10 rushes, 37 yards. But that was it for the offense. There's just nothing with New York.
I don't know if you guys have seen this. There's this meme that's going around where people are saying there's a picture of the quarterback. And then essentially they said these are all the bad parts of a quarterback that you can have out there, and all the entire pictures of Daniel Jones. You know, so what they're essentially saying is everything that Daniel Jones is doing and has done right now is bad. And so, like, I was like, give him a couple more games, and I don't think he's going to be the starting quarterback anymore.
Yeah, it was bad accuracy, bad arm strength, bad thought process. Everything was
it was all Daniel Jones. So.
Hey, going over to Jacksonville, Miami as well, too. Jen, I want to talk to you about this one. Look, Travis Etienne, 12 rushes, 44 yards. But yet, at the same time, you have Tank Bigsby, all right? Also 12 rushes, 73 yards. Are you looking at Tank Bigsby?
I think you might. I mean, again, I think Jacksonville is figuring out they can't. Trevor Lawrence is just not the guy. I mean, he's at least average, potentially better than average, but it's like when you need him to step up and play well, it's like you don't see that. So are they going to rely more on the run? Potentially. I mean, this game, if you're watching this game, they were up, and then Miami turned it around second half. So tough decision, but I like ETN, so I don't know. That's a hard one to pick.
And Jed, I really have high hopes for Christian Kirk. I mean, as the number 1 wide receiver, I am really, really hoping to see how he does. And I also was interested in seeing how Brian Thomas did as well, too. 4 catches, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. He actually may end up being your true number 1 wide receiver over there.
I like Brian Thomas.
Jim, Miami situation. Miami Dolphins. Achane is hurt. Mostert is hurt. Jeff Wilson, maybe?
Jeff Wilson pick up. Some people are going to pick up Jeff Wilson this week. If you're looking for a wide receiver,
I'm picking up the rookie. That's who I'm going after.
Which rookie?
What's his name? Warren. No, Wright.
Oh.
I think Jalen Wright. I mean, he didn't play this first game. I think he's the running back you want to pay attention to. It's not Jeff Wilson, but it's Jalen Wright, who I think if there's anything that's going to happen to those first 2 running backs, I think Jalen Wright's the person that you want to pay attention to.
Yeah. And the reason a lot of times Mike McDaniel seems like he loves speed. He just likes speed. And look, Jeff Wilson Jr. is not a speed guy, but Jalen Wright, as a rookie, has a lot of speed. Not Achane speed, but he has speed.
So I'm reading it right now. I think you guys saw it. Mostert is officially ruled out for Thursday. Achane pending right now. And so for Jeff Wilson's going to be, but they're thinking Wright, who is 4th round pick. He's almost like an Achane. He's fast. He ran a 4.38 and a 40-yard dash, making him the fastest player this year. So I can see him being the person that they're going to rely on.
So that means this week both Jeff Wilson and then also Mason in for the 49ers. It sounds like Christian McCaffrey is going to miss another game. Yep. So again, waiver wire pickups. I think probably Mason was probably the number 1 waiver wire pickup this week, followed by Likely. Yeah, was it Likely
number
over
1,
Mason?
And then I think Jordan Mason was number 2. I forgot who was number 3. Oh, Brian Thomas was number 3.
And J.K.
Oh,
Dobbins, if he
J.K.
was
Dobbins
sitting
is
there,
out
because
there.
he was sitting on some
No, okay,
wires.
going back, here's my thing is, I know Tommy really likes J.K. I don't trust J.K. Dobbins, right? He might have 4 games and that guy's done, so I don't trust.
I was surprised, I will say. So the Commanders lost to the Buccaneers, right? Buccaneers played well, 37-20. I was surprised with the Commanders. That's why, but again, it's just 1 week. So I'm expecting the Commanders have a better team. I mean, Jalen Daniels so when you look at the movement of the top 10, I like to look at the top 10 ranked by position and see who are the biggest movers. When you look at the quarterback position, Jaden Daniels, a lot of people have him ranked between 5 and 8 for this coming week. That is a big jump. He was in the teens. So if you drafted him, you got him really low, and now he's in the top 10. That's a huge jump. Kirk Cousins is the opposite with the other direction, right? So he dropped. So it's kind of interesting to see when you look at those rankings. It helps tell you like what is the stories that are coming up for the season that you might be able to follow and take advantage of.
And the head coach of the Commanders says that he would like for Jaden Daniels to run less and give more of the ball to Brian Robinson as well as Austin Eckler. I mean, Robinson got 12 carries. It's Austin Eckler that had 2 carries.
Well, and Terry McLaurin, too. I mean, McLaurin is a great wide receiver. He didn't get much of an opportunity. In fact, I don't think he was even top 15 or even top 20. So it'll be interesting to see if they, move, pass the ball a little bit more the second week.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, on the other end with Tampa Bay, even though a lot of times Baker Mayfield did a great job, man, Rashid White, terrible. Terrible. Did you see him? 15 carries, 31 yards. That was just utterly terrible.
I have him. I don't have him in all of them, but I have him in a couple of leagues. I'm keeping an eye on Bucky Irvin because I think that if he doesn't, if Rashid White does not keep on doing what he needs to do, and I think actually Tampa Bay has got a good team, right? Does what he needs to do. Mike Evans is still consistent, and I think they're going to need a good running back. So I'm keeping an eye on Bucky Irvin.
Well, remember we were waiting on Godwin, and this he finally looked better. So maybe he needed more time to heal, but he seems like he's back to his normal self. The Buccaneers are playing the Lions this week. They are 7.5-point underdogs. That's a tough game, but I also am a little bit surprised the spread is that big because Mayfield looked good. So that's a game I actually might take the Buccaneers because of the spread.
So I lost Jordan Love because he went out. He'll be out for the next couple of games. And so I was able to pick up Tua as my starting quarterback. And then I just picked up Baker Mayfield because I do think, right, given that they're going to be playing Detroit, it's going to be a pretty good high-scoring game. So you'll see some points on the board for that.
Yeah. Since you brought up the Packers, that was the other spread I was surprised by. The Packers are playing the Colts, and the Colts are only 3-point favorites, even though the Packers don't have love. So I'm taking the Colts all day.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, they haven't even really announced who the starting quarterback is yet. I mean, I think most likely it's going to be the backups in the league, right? But there's been some people that's saying that the third stringer might be the person they're going to call upon, only because he's just been long. So I'm surprised by that. You don't even know who's playing quarterback for them.
Hey, going back to the Green Bay Packers, Jed, like you were saying, Jaden Reed, we haven't talked for a while. Jaden Reed was excellent in that game. I was really excited about Jaden Reed and Jordan Love because that seemed like a wonderful, wonderful combination.
Well, and again, you just got to pay attention to this week and see because, Jordan Love's out. But the problem with Green Bay was every week you would get a different wide receiver who stepped up and had a great game, but there was no consistency. And so that's the thing is you got to see like, okay, who gets the target share? But now with the new quarterback, it's going to everything. Right?
Yeah. Jim, let's go through a couple games as well, too. New England, Cincinnati Bengals. Anything that stick out for you on that game?
Yeah, a couple of games. Ramondre Stevenson looks good. So, I mean, you never know with the new coach there. I keep forgetting it's not a Bill Belichick offense anime. Things are going to be different. Yeah. And so, actually, Ramondre looked really good. I mean, that guy had the most touches out of any running back. Time will tell if Joe Burrow is healthy. And again, this is where the first couple of weeks does not show what the rest of the season is going to look like. T. Higgins is going to most likely, they're saying that he might be out another week, right? So you're going to have Jamar Chase. You're going to have Zach Moss did pretty well. I thought Chase Brown would do more than he did, but Zach Moss took the majority of the rushes.
Yeah, who would have picked New England to beat Cincinnati? I mean, that was a great win for New England. I thought, again, I said this, I think New England is one of the 5 worst teams. So, I mean, really, kudos to them to come up with a game plan to win. But we also know the Bengals always start slow. Every season, the Bengals start 0-2. And this week, they're playing the Chiefs. So they're probably going to start 0-2 again. But I think things will turn around for them. I don't think Burrows is hurt, but let's just see because they didn't look very good against New England.
Now, Sino and Jamar Chase. I know Jamar Chase wants to be the highest paid receiver over Justin Jefferson by a penny. The guy is only earning $1.8 million a season. Just pay him. Eventually, you're going to have to pay him. Just pay him.
So I'm reading through the press right now. They're saying that when he went out last year, he had that the injury, the wrist injury.
Yeah.
A lot of people still think that that's affecting him right now.
Yeah, it could be. One thing I did forget, just talking about wide receivers, I forgot about, it is very hard. So Marvin Harrison, obviously with only one catch. Malik Neighbors did okay. I think he had 6 catches. But wide receiver is one of those positions, unlike running back. Wide receivers, their first year is usually very hard to be really productive right away. Usually, you guys know that we talk about the sophomore bump, and then usually it's the third year of a wide receiver that they really hit their prime. And I kind of forget about that because you guys know I spent a lot of money to get Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Didn't pay out, and I should have remembered. I shouldn't have even thought of him as really my number 1 or number 2, but really thought of him as my number 3 because it's going to take him a little bit and take Kyler Murray a little bit to get used to him. The good news is Kyler Murray looked good, so I think there's
Go ahead. I do think that there are some really decent wide receivers out there that show some potential, right? The Keon Coleman's of the world, McKees of the world, Brian Thomas, all of them showed potential. So from a dynasty perspective, I think all of them are going to do well. Roma Dunze was injured, so who knows how effective he'll be as well too.
Yeah. And look at some of the wide receivers. Xavier Worthy looked good. Brian Thomas looked good. So let's see what happens. Hey, going back to what you were talking about, Jed, Arizona as well too. Kyler Murray did pretty good. 21-31 for 162 points.
Well, and the rushing yardage. The rushing yardage is what's key for Kyler Murray. You saw him still move.
5 rushes at 52 yards.
Yeah, that's what saves him.
Yeah. And then the Buffalo Bills show, hey, look, it's going to be Josh Allen all day, every single game. So if you have Josh Allen on your team, I do have him on one of my team. Literally, he just makes up. James Cook will be there, but it's mostly just Josh Allen.
The thing that we're saying that they were surprised by, though, is Dalton Kincaid did not get many looks. And a lot of people were thinking that he was going to be the number 1 receiver. But Keon Coleman actually got the most receptions in that game. So some people were surprised by that.
Yeah, and the Bills are playing the Dolphins this week, which is really interesting. The Dolphins have had a hard time beating the Bills, but they're 2.5 point favorites, I think. But that's going to be an interesting game, in division game.
Yeah. Jim, let's talk a little bit about, I do want to look at this particular game. Denver Broncos against Seattle Seahawks. My Javonte Williams did not do well. 8 rushes, 23 yards. McLaughlin was the one who actually got the majority of rushes, 10 rushes, 27 yards. Am I putting Javonte Williams way too high?
Yes, we've been telling you that.
I don't know what to say because I know he loves Javonte Williams, and I've been trading my Javonte Williams to him. But to be honest, I do not like Javonte Williams. I
love Javonte Williams.
I think if I had to choose between one of the 2 running backs, I'll pick McLaughlin before I pick Javonte. I think after his rookie season, I just have not had any belief in Javonte Williams.
Yeah. Hey, look, by week 4, I'm going to sit there and say we need Javonte Williams. There's 2 kinds of players I love. J.K. Dobbins and Javonte Williams and Cam Akers. All 3 of them I love, but still.
Yeah.
I will say I was disappointed in the Seahawks wide receivers. I thought DK Metcalf was going to do a little bit better. The other thing is we talked about Jackson Smith Enigma as the potential, rising to that number 2 spot. But really, Tyler Lockett had 6 receptions for 77 yards. Clearly was the number 2 or even the number 1. So I think you have to wait a little bit. Jackson Smith is another guy you might potentially drop until you see him pick up a little bit better.
Yeah. Hey, who would have thought Tyler Lockett would be the leading wide receiver, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It kind of reminds me of Keenan Allen, too. I thought Keenan Allen, in the Bears game, I mean, he was very active over even Rome Odunze. So I think he's still, clearly the number
so
two.
this is the thing
Yeah.
I've been looking at. And what do you guys think? I've seen people drop Jackson Smith and Njigba in the number right.
Mhm.
Pick him up.
So I've been trying to decide, is he worth the pickup? Because I actually think that there could be an argument made that there's no way Tyler Lockett's going to be able to last the entire season. So having somebody like him as your number two is actually a pretty good idea.
Well, and the question is just, do you need him now, or can you wait? Like, if you're loaded at wide receiver, pick him up, because then you can wait 4, 5, 6 games. But if you're not and you're hurting for someone, I would not get him. I think there's plenty of other choices that could pay out for these next couple of weeks a little bit better.
But then somebody else is going to pick him as well too.
Yeah, that's.
You know what, the strategy that's worked for me though is I always try to pick up running backs more than wide receivers, because the running backs are always going to be injured by the end of the season. Yeah. So Tom, we still need to work on a trade for Javonte Williams, because I really want to get rid of him.
Yeah, I really love him. Hey, Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns, Dak Prescott did okay, 179 yards. But, I mean, for the most part, Ezekiel Elliott, 10 rushes, 40 yards, CD Lamb, 5 catches, 61 yards. Brandon Cooks might be a good pickup. Thoughts on Dallas Cowboys, Jed?
Yeah, exactly. I think so that's a good example of a second wide receiver. If you need a second wide receiver, Cooks is someone to look at. There's a lot of offense. I mean, the Cowboys are a nicely balanced team. They have good defense. Now that Dak is there and, clearly is looking for CD Lamb, it looked like the offense was coming around. I think I was a little disappointed in, was it Dowdle, the running back? Yeah, I thought he was going to do better. I was surprised. It looks like Zeke Elliott is the number one. Even though their carries were pretty split, it seemed like they were favoring him. I think he got the touchdown too. So I was a little disappointed in that. And then also the Browns. I thought, well, if you had Jerome Ford, you at least got a touchdown out of that. But I thought the Browns would have more offense than they did. So it really could be a down year for the Browns.
From a fantasy perspective, I don't know if you guys saw this. Ferguson's going to be out for a couple weeks because he had that ACL injury. So the person that's going to replace him, Luke Schoonmaker, last year's second rounder, he's going to be the starting tight end for a few weeks. So for those people, I mean, most of the tight ends did not do well, but Luke Schoonmaker and that offense might actually make some noise.
Yeah, because once you go past CD Lamb, Brandon Cooks is probably it, the tight end, but there's really nothing. With Michael Gallup gone, there's really nothing to pick up. So I would actually look at Brandon Cooks and look at
were you guys surprised that Ezekiel Elliott did decently in fantasy?
Yeah, that's exactly. I thought he would be like totally over, just over the hill and done, but he had a little spring to his step, so I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
Speaking spring into a step, the Las Vegas Raiders, Alexander Madison did pretty good.
Yeah,
I
saw you pick him up in a couple of leagues. I mean, I still believe in Zamir White, but Madison might be a good pickup, because he's at least like a veteran that they can rely on.
Hey, last one. Puka Nacua goes out for the LA Rams.
All the people who were talking about Cooper Kupp being the number one and not Puka Nacua, I mean, they're right? Like if you made that move and you drafted Cooper Kupp, you got him around, 11th, 12th, 13th wide receiver taken. He's now going to be top 10. So you really struck the lottery.
I know we're in our first couple of weeks, but it could be it could be Cooper Kupp or Jameson Williams, who could be like some of the steals of the draft this year.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, in our $1,000 league, for those of you who are listening, it's our first year doing this NFL Fantasy $1,000 matchup, and just a shout out to, this is a good name. We have first place to Mike Chubba Hurts, had the highest points last week with 153, and then second place went to Chris's team with 149. So shout out to you guys for playing. So we're in this 12-team league, very, very competitive. I pulled off a win. Jimmy pulled off a win. I think Tommy lost. So we'll see if we can compete with these guys. It's a very competitive league, guys.
Yeah.
Jed, in that particular league, Lamar Jackson got me 30 points. He will carry my team. But Garrett Wilson, 9 points. Kirk, 3.5. Kenneth Walker, injured. Josh Jacobs, questionable. Javonte Williams, Zach Moss, not very good.
No, we should get. So Mike's a friend of mine who, he's a teacher here. I'm looking at his league, right? Or I'm looking at He's got Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson as his quarterback. He's got Cooper Kupp, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Keon Coleman. I mean, I don't know if these guys are going to continue for the rest of the season, but at least after week one, that's a pretty good, strong team he's got.
Hey, and shout out to Saquon Barkley, right? We all talked about what's he going to look like in Philadelphia. He looked amazing. I mean, if anything, you got to be a little bit concerned for Jalen Hurts. If you have Jalen Hurts, looks like his touchdowns are going to be a little bit lower. But man, Saquon Barkley looked really good.
3 touchdowns. I mean, he looked fast.
Yep.
Now you have to say maybe it was the New York Giants offense that kept him from showcasing his full potential.
Yeah. Well, that league, I'm very happy with my team. I have a pretty balanced team. I think I was picking 11, so it's tough. The weakness of my team is quarterback. I started Caleb Williams. I got Trevor Lawrence as my backup, so that's the weakness. But I have both J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason on my bench, sitting behind Derrick Henry and David Montgomery and James Conner. James Conner looked really good. We told you guys, anyone who drafted him, he looked really good. That was a good pickup, I think, for most of this year.
Now, Chad, here's my prediction of the year. We're going to continue the first round curse. Taylor went out injured. Eckler last year was the number 1 draft pick. Didn't do well.
CMC.
I think a lot of times Christian McCaffrey will have an injury-plagued year, and he will disappoint highly.
Well, it looks like he's going to miss week 2. I mean, 2 weeks out is already a big deal. To miss 2 weeks is already a big deal, and if you could not draft your number 1 and expect that, so it's if you didn't have Mason stashed behind him, that's why you got to do that.
So, and also remember all his injury troubles with the soft tissue cap, everything like that in Carolina. He had two pretty good seasons where he was great, but now he's coming back up again.
Here, let me ask you guys a couple of things for that $1,000 league. So, Jed, I know that you've got your quarterbacks, Caleb Williams and Justin Herbert.
Oh yeah, I probably got the worst quarterbacks in the league, but the rest of the team is really solid.
Okay, you got Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins out there, maybe a Derek Carr. Would you pick up any of those?
Well, I went and picked up Justin Herbert. Okay. So because Justin Herbert is playing the Carolina team this week, I'm gonna picked him up to start him. Basically, it's like a streaming strategy. So like if you're really weak, it's kind of like for defenses. If you don't have the great defense, you can stream defenses. Same thing with quarterback. You can look at the matchups and stream.
By the way, I'm looking at this league right now. I don't know if you guys should pay attention. Someone dropped Keenan Allen. Someone dropped Smith and Jigba. Someone dropped Zamir White. I'm like, I mean, these are the types of things for the first week. I don't know if you necessarily want to drop those guys,
Zamir White. I was
hoping that you wouldn't mention it because I was sitting there waiting for them to sit there on waivers.
No, now I'm looking at it. I'm like, there's a couple of guys I can pick up here.
Yeah, definitely. But it's an active league because I made some waiver pickups that I didn't get. In particular, we have IDP in this league, and I was surprised. I went after one of the linebackers and didn't get him. I was kind of shocked.
Well, okay, so Isaiah Likely. I was going to pick up Isaiah Likely in one of my and spend the money on it. And I was like, so the person in this league, they ended up winning by putting $20 on Isaiah Likely. I was going to put $25, but I ended up doing like $8. Because I was like, I don't want to spend my money so fast right off the gate. Because Isaiah Likely is 50-50 whether or not he's going to be good, right?
And who's your tight end? That's the key.
Well, my tight end.
Who
I already had a tight end. I had Sam Laporta. So
see, then it's not worth it. Yeah.
Like, I would need him just because, like, I think he's a good player to have. But I was like, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try to spend a lot of money for him.
See, I have a league one team where I had Dalton Schultz, who did not do as good as I was hoping, and so I spent the money to get Likely because I'm going to start him. So if you're going to start him, it's worth it. But if he's just going to be a backup to your number one tight end, it's probably not.
No, I'm going to go after Zamir. Like, I was like, I'm surprised that they're dropping.
Zamir White is a good pickup.
I know that he didn't do well on the first game, but I think long term for the rest of the season, he's a good running back. I wouldn't give up on him.
Yeah, again, it's week 1, guys. I always say, like, it's always the first 2 weeks. For some reason, you get these weird, it's hard to bet the first 2 weeks because you get the upsets. Like, I still think New England is not good. My oldest son's going to hate me for saying that because he's really cheering and happy with that win. But I think they're going to come back down. They're going to have a tough year. And that's, again, one of the teams that I'm kind of banking on not doing well.
And I would probably say a lot of times these players aren't playing the preseason anymore. They're playing, 10 plays or something like that? So
Yeah.
here they are. They didn't play the last preseason game, and now it'll take them a couple of weeks to get used to everything.
Yeah, exactly. Did you guys hear? It was funny. I didn't listen to most of his game, Tom Brady's game
No,
that
I
he was
listened.
commentating.
No, he was not good.
That's
He was
what I heard.
not
I heard
good.
he got a C or a D
Yep.
average. Yeah, people did not give him. I was a little surprised. I thought he would be good, but people said he looked nervous and that he didn't have like good comments. Like that was kind of surprising.
No, because here's the thing, Tom, because Tom, you were gone, right? You didn't listen to it? Tom
No.
Brady. So this is because I went in thinking, because I think part of it is you have high expectations. Thinking like the Tony
Yeah.
Romos of the world were good. He was awkward. If you listen to it, there were so many pauses because he wasn't really sure what to say or when to come in. And I think the announcer
Yeah.
was trying to help him, but it was really awkward. And it just didn't flow as well, too. So
One of the funny things, Bill Belichick was on Peyton Manning's broadcast, and normally Monday night broadcast. Normally the next day, ESPN publishes their ratings for the Peyton Manning,
Manningcast.
the ratings that Peyton Manning, the Manningcast got. They did not publish them, so people were saying that Bill Belichick must have like lowered the
Yeah.
viewership from Monday night. Yeah.
Well, the only thing I heard on the Dan Patrick show is they said that, look, his content is okay. It's pretty good. It'll continue to improve with timing and all that stuff. His biggest issue that you can't solve, he has a high voice. So
Tom Brady?
Annoying. He just has a high voice.
Yes, he does. Tom Brady does have an annoying high pitched voice. I agree with that.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, it's been nice to have football back again. This past weekend we had it Thursday, we had it Friday, then we had it Sunday. I was like, it was nice. It was nice to have it back.
Oh yeah, I was at church early on Sunday and could not wait to drive home, grab a lunch, and just sit on the couch and watch the Bears. Even though they were terrible for the first half, it was still great to just be able to sit and watch football.
And I was in Johannesburg, and I have VPN. I sat there and I watched, and during dinner, everybody was having dinner, and I was sitting there with my Red Zone, and they said, "Tommy, what are you doing? Is everything okay?" Totally, I'm watching Red Zone right now.
Oh, Red Zone is awesome. Red Zone is really like crack for football fans. It really is. It's impossible. My oldest son called it. He said it's just like TikTok. It's like you're watching football on TikTok because you're just swiping up and watching all the scores.
Well, then also, if you think about it, there's no commercials, right? Like, so you never. I mean, you don't have to leave. Like, you're just sitting.
Yeah, you don't get up.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's like when I actually do watch a real NFL game, I say, "Oh my gosh, how many commercials do they have?" Hey, as we wrap up here, which player are you the most excited about? Whether it's a player that no one knows about, whether it's someone that you're cheering for, what is one player that you're cheering for? Is it an Xavier Worthy? Is it Jalen Waddle or someone that no one's talking about right now, or it's a rookie or something like that? Who are you excited about?
I'm excited about James Conner. I still think he's undervalued, underlooked. I think Marvin Harrison didn't have a good game, but it opened up. The defenses still have to respect Marvin Harris's skill, and so I think it's only going to get better. So I have high hopes for Arizona this year, at least from a fantasy perspective. I don't know about in real life if they'll be good, but from a fantasy perspective, I think they could be good.
I think for me, I'm always excited to find players, especially rookies or second-year players, that people maybe have overlooked, but they're going to be the next stars, right? Like, so for me, like the running back out of my app, Keon Coleman is going to be somebody who I'm paying attention to. Bucky Irving from Tampa Bay. Those are the ones that, to be honest, when I spend a lot of time looking at waiver wires, looking for those types of players and being excited about it. Like right now, Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker has issues with his abdomen, right? And so you don't know, even if he's going to play for the next couple of weeks, is he going to be around for the for the rest of the season? So those are the types of people I'm looking at. Trey Benson.
Also the guy out of Carolina, Brooks, the rookie. That's another guy a running back to pay attention to. He's on the pup, I think. But yeah, he could easily take over Chuba.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'll be honest. The guy that I'm most excited about is J.K. Dobbins, but I'm not going to talk about J.K. Dobbins all the time. In terms of watching Derrick Henry, still doing Derrick Henry stuff, I enjoy seeing Derrick Henry. I mean,
Yeah.
you always say that those guys get old. He doesn't get old. He still is
No,
running pretty
the
well.
only,
Old
but
beef.
here's the thing that worries me about Derrick Henry, right? Because Derrick Henry used to rush 30 times in a game. And it wasn't until towards the end when he started accumulating the points. If you watch the game this week, it was very inconsistent. So they have to decide what are they going to do? Are they going to allow him to rush? And at what points of the game? Or is this going to be surrounding Lamar Jackson? My guess is it's going to be a Lamar Jackson, but I think that'll take away from the value of Derrick Henry.
I just like seeing Derrick Henry stand next to Lamar Jackson and make Lamar Jackson look small. I mean, Derrick Henry is such a big dude. The other thing I'll mention is I have to admit that I liked seeing Aaron Rodgers look old. Like I expected him to be like Tom Brady and he had one drive. If you watch the game, he had one drive in the first half where everything clicked and they looked really good. But the rest of the half did not look good. The rest of I mean, he did not. He looked old, and so that did make me a little bit happy.
I think it'll change, right? But I don't know how this will affect Garrett Wilson. Who's the receiver from his Green Bay days that are on that team now?
Oh yeah, Lazard,
Yeah,
Alan
he's the one
Lazard,
who
yeah,
scored the most. He was scored,
yeah,
got most of the receptions, right? So Rodgers
yeah.
went after somebody he trusted. So I don't know how this is going to affect the rest of the season for Wilson.
Yeah. Hey, I forgot to mention one team. Tennessee Titans, Will Levis.
No,
Oh my gosh, he was bad.
no, there's
Yeah,
no.
he was bad. And
He saved the Bears.
Tajay Spears, I was so disappointed. He didn't do anything. Pollard came out of nowhere. I didn't think Pollard was going to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also any of the wide receivers there. Hopkins, Ridley, nothing. Nothing is good.
Yeah.
Now, don't be surprised if Ryan Tannehill gets picked up in somewhere. Someone's going to pick up Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Anything else as we talk? Any of you guys watched the presidential election? I mean, the debate yesterday? Any other thoughts?
I did. I don't think people eat cats and dogs in Ohio. That's the only thing I'll say. But what
You
a
know what?
crazy.
I saw that too.
When I told my wife, I was watching, I was like, I cannot believe he just said that with a straight face. I mean, he said two things. Trump said two things that immigrants were eating cats and dogs, and that there were people doing abortions after the babies were born. And I was like, what? Like, what? That does not happen in the United States. And so the fact that he put those out as like truth was just insane.
No, at the same time, we are not choosing one side or another or anything like that. But at the same time, if you are doing a presidential debate, just make sure your facts are true, please.
Hey, you know what? I wish I had a bet on it. I didn't know you could bet on this, is that you could bet on if they were going to shake hands. And I really appreciated that Kamala Harris, you saw her walk all the way to his side. You could almost see Trump looking at her like, yo, don't come over here. And then she still did. I wish I had made that bet because it was an underdog bet. But he didn't shake anyone's hand since he'd been elected.
How about this? I'll be completely honest. I'm not a Kamala fan, nor am I a Trump fan. I don't like either of those candidates. But Kamala is doing everything that she needs to do to win this election. You know, like even if you looked at her, because I was listening to other things she was saying, she wasn't saying anything, but she at least said the right things that I think people want to hear. And sometimes, like, she tries to get under his skin, and I think she did a good job of doing that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan of either. I'm independent, and I actually will not vote for either. But basically, she looked more sane. He looked insane. I mean, she just set him up to look crazy. And actually, one of her best lines, she actually said, "Go to a Trump rally." She's like, "If you have never been, go, because then you will see the real Trump." And I thought that is a perfect line for her.
She does make it sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Well, he did it himself. He said immigrants were eating cats and dogs. I was like, what is this guy do? You know, his handlers were on the side going, no, don't say that.
I will. Okay, I still think though. I mean, we've got a couple more months to go.
Oh yeah, there's still time.
I still think if the elections were held today, I think Trump will win because Trump will get more electoral votes than Harris will. Harris will get the popular votes, but I think Trump will get the electoral votes.
It really depends on the turnout. Like you really have to look at the turnout of the younger demographic, the people of color demographics. I mean, it just depends on who comes out.
Well,
to vote. But I
yeah.
agree, it's
Did you
still
see
either
where
they're-
Trump's putting all his money in Georgia and Pennsylvania? That's where he decides that he's going to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I think whoever wins Pennsylvania will have.
Pennsylvania? Yep.
And your thoughts? White Sox continue to lose. They're terrible, absolutely terrible. They're gonna have
Have they continued the streak? Yeah. What's the streak? What's the streak at?
I don't. You know what?
You
I
don't know.
haven't paid attention to the White Sox
They're
at all.
Are the Cubs making it in the playoffs? They're not, right?
No, because they've been inconsistent
Cubs
as well
stink too.
too.
Yeah.
They had swept everyone, but they've been losing till LA Dodgers.
Well, they threw a no-hitter, though, a combined no-hitter the other day. That was interesting. Yeah, several pitchers together. But no, I haven't watched. The only thing I'm watching in baseball is Shohei Ohtani to see if he can get to the 50-50 club. That's never been done. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Other than that, I have not watched really. I mean, NFL football is it. Other than that,
I'm watching college football. I know you guys don't watch college, but there was a huge upset. Notre Dame lost to NIU at Notre Dame. That was amazing. One of our friends, his son is in the band for NIU, and they went to the game and got to see the upset. I mean, what a great win for NIU.
And they have to pay Notre Dame $1.4 million.
Did you guys know that you have to pay $1.4 million for these guys to pay? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was the other way around.
There are certain teams that just, I mean, you'll pay that group to play those guys, and you think it's a guaranteed win, but somehow NIU was up for a test.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great win.
Yep. And Deion Sanders, when his son scores a touchdown, he will not allow the man to play because they want him to play his walk-up music.
Yeah, Colorado lost to Nebraska. That was an interesting game. Colorado is always interesting, though.
By the way, so they're reporting right now that the Bengals offered Jamar Chase a 4-year, $140 million contract, but he turned it down.
Ooh.
These wide receivers, they want their money.
Get their money. Get it.
I would turn it down because as soon as he's on the market, someone will pay him more than Justin Jefferson. If he's on the market right now, you'll have teams lining up. Oh, you want to pay a cent more? Then sure, I'll pay you that.
Think about Dak Prescott. Can you imagine Dak Prescott is getting $60 million a year? That's
well, he's the highest paid. Isn't he the highest paid quarterback over the lifetime of a career? He has the most career earnings of any
Dak
quarterback.
Prescott, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, with this contract, I think with this contract he becomes.
Is he worth $60 million? I mean, he's not like the best quarterback. No, there's no. He
hasn't gotten out of round one. He hasn't gotten out of round one. I don't
understand why they're paying him that much money.
So. Yeah. And also, another thing I'll complain about, Tyreek Hill. Did you see the video on the police officer? Seriously, you know your body cam. What in the world were you doing?
Oh, exactly. I thought if you guys haven't seen it, go watch it because everyone is assuming that Tyreek Hill was like belligerent or he was. Tyreek Hill was just speeding. He basically was just waiting for them to give him the ticket. He's like, give me the ticket. And the guy just got mad because he wouldn't roll his window. And then as soon as he wouldn't roll his window down, then the cop goes nuts and throws him to the ground. It's like,
if I was the cop, I was like, even if you were annoyed, you gotta think that there are people watching you on these things, especially on game. But there's some speculation they didn't know who he was, but everyone knew who. I would say they would know who he was.
But one of his teammates was with him. One of his teammates stopped when he saw that he had been pulled over. And actually in the recording, one of the cops says that's the star of the Dolphins. Yeah. And then the cop basically didn't care. But I mean, I was just amazed that they actually had the video footage. I thought for sure they would have turned it off. But I don't know how that keeps his job.
Yeah. I mean, it was a true power play, and he just doesn't deserve to be working. He'll be a security guard in a couple of years.
Yeah, probably for the Dolphins.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Good to see everyone.
All right. Bye.